Hello, hello. All right, we are about to talk about how to check in a bulk number of items and also how to handle reserves when we see reserves when we turn in those items. So, we're going to assume a couple of things real quick. Number one, we're going to assume that you just went outside to the book drop, the red book drop, and you got all the books out of the book drop. We're also going to assume that you went to the book drop inside the library and got all the books out of the book drop on the inside of the library, and that you have brought them to the checkout desk to turn in. Okay, so let's pretend right now I have got all those books. Okay, inside each of those books is going to be the due date card. And so, what we need to do, a couple of things. First, we need to scan all the books, we need to check them in, we need to remove the due date cards and get them on the carts behind us. So I go to the screen and I'm looking, and this is my checkout screen. The great thing about the screen that we already know is that we can also check in things on the screen. So I've got my stack of books. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and scan all of these books. So you know what? Hold on, let's just pretend that we're not on Caitlin's room. We'll be on my record for a minute, okay? Make it where you can see, right? Okay. So let me go ahead. I'm going to scan. Here's one. It shows up in the queue. Guys, you've got to make sure that when you're turning in, that it shows up in the queue every time you scan. And let me tell you, whenever Miss Brotman gets an upset mama phone call, usually it happens because someone didn't turn a book in correctly. One of my library aides did not turn in a book correctly. So I don't like Mad Mama phone calls. I need you to do turn ins, check ins the correct way. So please make sure every time you scan a book that it is showing up in that queue so that you can turn it in correctly. It's super important, okay? I don't like Mad Mama phone calls. Okay, so scan it. I check it's in the queue. All right, scan it, watch for it, see if it shows up. This is one that's got one of those 8th grade stickers on it. I may have to key this guy in. And I tell you what, it's easy to make mistakes when you're keying it in. You've got to make sure this book shows up in the queue. Let me check. I'm going to hit enter. It showed up in the queue. Drama. There it is. Okay. If it doesn't show up, try to key it in again until it shows up in the queue. Okay. You may notice I'm scanning all the books in. You can turn in 10 books at a time, 20 books at a time, that's fine. You don't want to do too many at one time just so you don't get your stacks mixed up, okay? You want to come up with a system, especially if you're turning in like 50 books at a time, and it happens. If you're turning in 50 books at a time, keep your piles separate. Have an area where you're scanning, an area that you're putting the books that have not been scanned, and the ones that have been scanned. And that way you keep them separate so Miss Brockman does not get mad mama phone calls, okay? So scan my book, check. It does show up in the queue. Okay, so all my books are there now. I'm ready to click the check in button. Remember, if they're bringing the books back into the library, then we are checking them in. Okay, if you check the wrong button, then guys, I'm going to get mad mama phone calls. So I'm going to check in. I'll click check in. You're going to hear a bing sound. And then this screen shows up. And I kind of mentioned the screen before about how if you're turning in 50 books, you're going to have this big long list of books after you check in. And I also mentioned to you that you need to scroll down to see if there's any red or orange that you need to take care of before you close the screen. So when you're checking in, we don't close the screen until we scan it first. When we are checking in books, we do not close the screen until we scan it first. Okay, so I'm going to grab this. I'm going to scroll down. And I do see something in orange. There it is. Guys, remember I told you anything red, anything orange. So there it is in orange. It says, the item Robot Dreams is on reserve and should be put on the reserve shelf for patron Rachel Brockman. So I'm going to go to my stack of books that I just turned in. I'm going to find Robot Dreams because that's the one that needs to be reserved. Here it is. I'm going to get a sticky and I'm going to write down Rachel Brockman's name. Yes, I know that that's me. And I'm also going to write down her lunch number. Go 78552. There we go. There it is. I'm going to put it on the book, and then I'm going to take the book and put it on the reserve shelf on the cart. The cart is labeled, so you're able to see where the reserve shelf is. But this goes on the reserve shelf on the cart. We do have people, and I'm not sure which period it is, but we do have people in charge of making sure that these books get to the people that are next in line to get these books. That's what reserve means. If someone reserves the book, they are waiting to be the next person in line to get the book. So you put this on the reserve cart, and then the library aides in charge of this, because you all have separate jobs, will be grabbing these and making sure they go to the right people. Okay? So, yeah, that is how you handle checking in a stack of books and checking for reserves.